Okay, in our last video we kind of went over quickly some of the traction control systems that are on the market, like the MSD ARC module, the Holley active speed management, and the system built into the Fueltech EFI. So we're going to take a quick look at Profiler. Again, this isn't intended to be a tutorial on how to use Profiler, just a quick overview of some of the features, and you can start to see the differences in what Profiler and Davis products have to offer and what's built into your EFI potentially. So one of the powerful features of the Profiler system, the Davis systems, is the software that we use to create the tunes, the profiles, the plots, whatever you want to call them, quickly and efficiently and very accurately. So another big part of the Davis stuff is the way we measure RPM. We actually measure the billionths of a second, nanoseconds, between the pulses on the ring. So we have a 32-tooth drive shaft ring. Most systems are going to be measuring how many teeth go by in a certain amount of time. That's actually very slow. And then they average those together and come up with a speed. We measure the nanoseconds between teeth and get a rate of change calculation and work that way. So, you combine that accuracy. We're doing that we're recording it at 400 hertz. We're measuring it actually every nanosecond. So it's much faster, and then we can react quicker, which means we make smaller corrections. It's also extremely accurate RPM, which allows us to draw extremely accurate profiles. So one of the things we've noticed is even when you have a car that, maybe leaving the line and kind of setting the tire and slipping and setting the tire and slipping, and you get this oscillation early. What's kind of interesting is that same car will do that same oscillation pretty much every pass, at least on that track or those conditions. It'll have the same humps and bumps in it. So you can actually build a profile for that. You don't just have to just skim over the top as a crude safety net. We can be very detailed on how we set it up. So if you have data, what you can do is quickly import it from a CSV file or make it go run on your profile and record it. Or if you've got a race pack or different systems out there, the grid, you're switching from a grid to a Davis, then you can pull that data in. So we'll start that way. So we'll take, let me turn that off. We'll come in here, we're going to go and import. We'll bring in, hold down control, bring in Q2, Q3, Q4, E2, and E3. Open those up. Bring them in each as run data. So now we have, 5-6 runs here. We can use the create profile tool to create a profile off the average of all 3 of those, or all 6 of those, sorry. Was it 5 or 6? 1, 2, 3, 6 runs. Okay, so there's an average of all 6 with a 50 RPM offset and 3 degrees, 3% offset. We'll run that back down to 0. You can also go negative. So if you do a gear change, this can be a handy tool to offset for, you had one ring and pinion, it broke, you didn't have that same ratio. You need a starting point for your drive shaft profile, which is going to change with a different gear. So you can use the offset. Any of these offsets can be positive or negative. So there's an average of all 6 runs right down the middle. You can go upper average, very tops of each run. So whatever color is highest, that's what it attaches to. Back to the middle. You can go lower, you can go bottoms. And we even have tools to do just certain segments. But first, let's take, let's get rid of this blue one. It's a little slow. Wrong one. Okay, let's get rid of this green one. It's a little fast. We update right down the middle of all those. By averaging, of course, where some shake, others are not shaking, and it kind of smooths everything out. You can see the shaking. Pulled it up here a little bit. Okay. So then once you get a rough idea where you want to be or whatever, again, we can offset that. We can come in here, we can make the grips larger, makes them a little easier to deal with. we can then easily manually manipulate. Control left click, shift left click. We can bring this up or down. You know, we can smooth it. We can extend our grab, smooth all that, so on. Escape gets rid of your selection. So now you've made a graph like you want. We can even, let's say we turn off some of these shaky ones. Okay, so now we've got this graph. We'll make these small again. And let's say we want to really get some wheel speed out here. So we want to follow that red one. We could grab the dots and move them one at a time or in groups. So say we want to grab it here to here. Pick all this up. It's going to move the most wherever we grab it. And try to smooth the rest. We can bring it up like that. Okay, we can escape. Let's say through here we want to pick the bottom of it. Well, we can then, let's close this first. So now we've got a selected bunch of grips. We go to the create profile. Notice it's got selected grips only checked. Okay, so we can pull that down just on the selected grips. Or we can turn off the red one. And now it's following the blue one. So a lot of tools at your disposal to do things. And in this example, let's say we take this and extend our grab, a little bit of smoothing. Let's offset that area 10 RPM. You know, you can just quickly and easily manipulate things, which is critical when you're trying to get from one round to the next. You got valves adjust and everything else. Some of these other systems, it's pretty tedious moving your profile around, and you just can't get it very accurate. So if you can't get accurate, it's really not doing following the dots very well. So there's how you do that section. We've taken a bunch of runs in, manipulated them quickly and easily, and we can get a very accurate profile, target, drive shaft plot of what we want to run the next pass. Okay, so once we get our profile set up, we've now got to set up what we're going to do about it if it goes above or below. So again, Profiler can retard timing, drop cylinders, or add timing. So that's controlled by, first of all, the ranges, okay, which is a rainbow of first level retard in green, second level in yellow, third level in red. The red also serves as the smart drop. It can take out 1 out of 8, 2 out of 8, 3 out of 8, or 4 out of 8 cylinders. And then we have 2 levels of advance below the desired drive shaft speed. These can easily be adjusted. You can just click and move in increments of 10, or you can type in whatever numbers you want. So say we set this at 50 and 50, 50, 50, 100 on the retards. So that's our level of allowance that we're going to let things move or not move before we start correcting. And then it's proportional. So as soon as the drive shaft goes above the dotted line, the yellow, like in this example up here through the green, it's going to start retarding. That green is broken into 255 increments. So if you take out 1 degree through the green, it can take out 1/255th of a degree the instant it goes over the line. So your timing will follow these lines, and it's constantly adding and removing power to keep it on target. The amount of power it's going to remove, timing or add, is controlled by the zones. Okay, so we have our zones. Right now we have one zone. So we go to our zone settings. We have one zone from 0 to 7 seconds. We can add as many zones as we want. Okay, so I like to do a zone in the beginning. It's kind of a dead zone, if you will, where we're not going to do anything. And then we do one for maybe the 60 foot, and then out to the first shift. Let's say that's at 2 1/4. And then we make a shift zone that's 2 1/4 to 2.7. Let's go 2.5, quarter of a second. Then we have, let's add another zone. Then we have one out to the end of the run at say 4 seconds. And then we have one out to the end of the track. Actually, we'll make this 5 seconds. And you can type in or you can use the arrows. Okay, now I like to come to my shift zone and name it and give it a distinct color. So we'll make it bright blue. We'll give it a name, 1-2 shift. And then we can do something special for the shift. So each zone does the same thing, so don't get intimidated. If you know how to use one, you know how to use them all. So what we're going to do is we're going to say in the first, we'll take out 1 degree, then we'll take out up to 3 degrees, and then we'll take out, say, up to 6 degrees. And then we'll add, let's say 1 degree and 2 degrees. Okay? So that's in this second zone here. We zoom in. So in this example, if it's below the curve, the desired plot, it can actually add timing. If you see something like this, you want to fix it, you can just bring that up. Okay, so now it's down here, it's way below the plot, it can add timing. We stuck the tire, the car's just not moving like we thought it would, so we can add 1 degree in the first 50 RPM based on this advanced 1 green range at 50, and then another degree for 2 degrees total. These do not add together. It's not 1 plus 2, it's up to 1 degree of add, up to 2 degrees of add. If it keeps going down, it just adds 2, 2, 2 until it comes up. As it comes up, it starts decaying that add. If it goes above, it's going to start retarding. Up to 1 degree in the green. If it goes on up into the yellow, find an example of that. We probably got our profile too tight. Maybe I hear what we're shaking. But if it goes up into the yellow, we can start retarding up to 3 degrees and up to 6. Now, what you kind of don't want to do, it's fine if you do, but defeats the purpose of some of the features. If I do 50, 50, 50 and do 1, 2, 3, well, ultimately what I'm doing is just taking out 1 degree per 50 RPM of error. I could have done the same thing by making the first one 150 and the first retard 3 degrees. The idea was to kind of get exponential with it, where, okay, the first 50 RPM 1 degree didn't fix it. Let's take out 2 more. That didn't fix it. Let's take out 3 more and get heavier and heavier and heavier on the retard until we get the thing under control. Additionally, you have your smart drop. So you come in here, set your smart drop limit to 4. So back to our zone 2 over here. If our drive shaft is coming up and it gets up into the red, for example, let's make that 100 again. If it's on smart drop 4, as soon as it touches the red, if it's 1% into the red, it's going to start dropping 1 out of 8 cylinders. As soon as it touches the second quarter, so actually 26% of the red, it's dropping 2 out of 8, third quarter's 3 out of 8, fourth quarter's 4 out of 8. It doesn't have to get to the top to drop 4, it has to touch the fourth quarter. So if you then go to smart drop 2, for example, the first quarter of red is retard only based on this retard 3 number, up to 6 degrees. So we're starting at 3 at the top of the yellow, moving up to 6. With smart drop 2, first quarter doesn't drop any cylinders, retard only. Second quarter, no drop, retard only. Third quarter starts dropping 1 out of 8. Fourth quarter, 2 out of 8. And that's as high as it'll go. If you want to get aggressive with that, say 2 or 3, you can also run this up so it's further out of reach. So it's got to be in pretty good trouble and it's retarding. You could bump this retard up to say 9 degrees if you wanted. And as it's going up through here, it's retarding, and finally it gets halfway up the red and it starts dropping 1 cylinder, then 2. So it gives you a lot of power to manipulate how aggressive the traction control is very easily, very quickly. And then each zone is just a different section of racetrack that you can do whatever you want in different parts of the track very visually. You're not dragging dots a little closer, a little further away to get more or less aggressive. There's just not time for that. So you've got each zone. You can create as many as you want. You can recolor them. You can name them. You can make them darker. Whatever you like it to look like. Okay. And then on the bottom, we have our timing. So in this example, we've got the crank trigger at 28 degrees. We're never going to put more than 28 degrees in it. We can't because it's only got 28 in the crank trigger. Say the crank trigger was at 30 and our advanced limit was 28. Then as soon as it starts cranking, the most timing it's going to allow is 28 degrees. You just didn't have to call another car and move the crank trigger. But to keep it simple, we'll go 28. Our advanced limit is 28. We're going to idle at 28. We can idle at 26 if we wanted. You know, we can do whatever we want there. Spool is a turbo thing. And then pre-launch timing is pre-launch for us is on the two-step. So if you're on the two-step, you can have it with less timing. Then you have your timing dots. If we click there on the bottom, we can grab these timing dots and move them wherever we want. Let's start at 28. Then we're going to drag it down to 14. If you don't like dragging, you can right over here, right click, and we can just type in our numbers. Let me do something here real quick. 20, 25, and then we'll do 28, 28, 28. So there's our timing curve. We got a quick little curve in there. So this takes me to a point on the timing advance. No matter what you tell Profiler to do, if I tell it to add 20 degrees, it can't add it beyond what the crank trigger is, obviously. In this case, we've only got, 14, 15 degrees out. So it couldn't add 20. It's going to add up to the crank trigger, up to the zero timing line there, and has to stop. Something, maybe we had 3 degrees. If it comes down here and the drive shaft is below, this 14 degrees is going to move up 3 degrees to 11 degrees. It's going to move up to 17. So it's going to automatically add timing for you, get you out of this part here where it stuck the tire. And if you come back, download the data, and you see it added 2 degrees, 3 degrees, and it worked, then you automatically know you can add 2 degrees for the next run if the conditions are similar. So it's not that wondering, all right, well, take another degree, let's put 1 degree in it, let's put 2 degrees in it. Well, it just did 2 and it liked it. So give it 1.5 or 2 of those degrees on your dots, leave it ability to add up to the line. Your job is now, where does the drive shaft target drive shaft need to be? What will the track hold? So instead of putting in a timing curve to get to a wheel speed, you put in a wheel speed you think you can run and let the timing automatically adjust from a base curve you give it. You got to get it somewhere close. You can't just put minus 20 plus 20 and let the profiler do all of it. Give it a base curve that should work, and then we can tickle it. And let's say this was 5 degrees total retard, 2 degrees total add. We have a timing window now that's just opened up 7 degrees on our tuning. So we get this somewhere close. Profiler can then add and remove timing to meet this wheel speed. As long as you don't grossly overshoot or undershoot, we can fix it. When done properly, it looks a lot like this. Sorry, this is just a picture of somebody's data. This is actually Steve Wiley and his vet at Enos Pro Mod. And the dots are his timing curve. Here's his desired drive shaft. You can see the actual drive shaft. Just like that example, it stuck the tire on the line. Maybe they prepped the track right before he went. Wasn't much he could do about it. Didn't have time to go change the tune up. But luckily, Profiler did it for him. We cleared out his timing numbers for not sharing people's data. But you can see a Profiler, as soon as it got out of the blue where it was allowed to add timing, it was slow. It immediately put in what I think was 2 degrees of timing. And added 2 degrees, then it overshot a little bit. You can't see it, it's under the dots. It pulled some out. Here it's just kind of riding the dots, riding the timing, just constantly adjusting it. Here you can see we started getting behind. That's right through here where it's adding all this timing. Probably a gear change. It pulled timing out. Gets through here, you can see it's behind again. And it added timing the whole way out. He went on to the next round. It's fairly safe to assume had it not added this timing, it would have been a slower pass. That could have been his last pass for the weekend. So Profiler automatically takes care of that, fixes it for you at a speed and resolution that these other systems just don't and can't do. So they aren't the same. They don't have self-learning, which we'll get into in the next video. They're much harder to manipulate and adjust, in my opinion. Of course, that's tainted. but you can see for yourself, you know, this is very easy and visually to understand what's going to happen on the track. So you can easily turn things off, look at what you've got. How's that going to work when we get into it? Okay, if it does this same run, it's going to be up here on these, you know, it's going to be adding timing all through here. And we've looked at our G meter, and we've looked at our run, we've looked at our track, and we feel that we can do that. We need to add more timing through there. So there's a brief overview, a little bit of how-tos on a profiler and what it's capable of. Again, remember, all this stuff's happening in excess of 1,000 times a second. It's accurate to 1 RPM. And just the way we measure RPM, we have 3 patents on, I think. So anyway, next I'm going to do a little thing on the self-learning, and then we'll get into showing you these systems working live on how they all respond, largely all systems at the same time on the race pack. We can only do one EFI at a time, and I want to do like a TC3SL or a profiler one at a time, but we'll do some comparison videos and let you make your own call. So when somebody says, oh, I got the same thing built in my EFI, no, you don't. That's just ridiculous as saying a Dodge truck, a Chevy truck, Ford truck's all the same truck. Yeah, they're all pickup trucks. They all got 4 wheels and carry some weight, but those guys are going to argue they're not the same. Just like you'll argue your fuel injection ain't the same as the other guy's fuel injection. Mine's better than yours. They're not the same. Don't lump traction control in there just because they tell you it's got traction control, that it's the same thing, is what Davis is offering. But giving you the information here, you make your own choice. See you in the next video.